What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode with co-host my man SilverFox. What's going on, buddy?
Let's go. What's up? How are you?
Um, man, just it's a great weekend for wrestling. That's all I can say.
I got to tell you, I'm a little upset. I'm a little hurt, distraught, downtrodden, all of those. Last week, you let me look like a fool, my friend. I had no idea that ring light was so bright. I looked back on that video and I was Uncle Fester. It's like, dang, my man played me, didn't tell me a thing.
So, if it makes you feel any better, I never keep the brightness all the way up on my phone. It's only like a third of the way, if that, because if I turn the brightness even halfway up, the battery starts dropping. I mean, like somebody with a heart attack on Christmas. So if it makes you feel any better, I didn't have the brightness all the way up. So I apologize. I would not leave you hanging like that, my man.
No, so I finished up and I was showing the wife. We were going through a couple things, and she goes, "Man, why didn't you turn the brightness down?" And I went, "I could turn the brightness down." And she said, "Yeah. How old are you? Don't you know?" Yeah. So apparently, I have reached that age where I complain about the price of milk. I get mad at kids with skateboards, and I have no idea how technology works. But
yeah,
either
that
way,
yeah, that sounds about much like me. I'm gonna try to do a little something here. But yeah, I find myself getting mad at a red light for being too long. So
yeah,
we got AEW All In Wembley Stadium. We've been looking forward to this for months now. It's
yeah.
here. It's just right around, one right turn and we're there. We've got, I think, a pretty stacked card. I think it's a good card. I very much think it's what it should be, although the faceless accounts with 100 followers on X seem to think differently, but here we are.
Yeah, those the faceless, you know, silent minority with all three of their followers and the other 88 bot that they follow, which my heart's broken because Evelyn told me that I was the only one for her and that her webcam was just for me, but apparently she's following everybody now. Anyway, yeah, those man, the squeaky wheels always think they're supposed to get the grease, and sometimes you just need to remove them. Sometimes
Yep.
you just got to replace the wheel, man. That's all it is.
Sometimes you just got to. Sometimes some things are just better left alone. That's about the best I can say. And I think we can start with a match that I personally think is going to surprise a lot of people. I know there are a lot of people that have had things to say about it, but that's going to be Osprey versus Jericho. I personally think that match is going to be better than anyone thinks it's going to be. Yes, Chris Jericho is not Y2J 2003, 2004 age. Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho's been through a lot. Chris Jericho's been in the business for a while. However, I think if you look at some of his New Japan matches right before AEW became in existence, I think that right there is that's just all you need to know. And I think that Will Ospreay is going to be the one to set the pace. I think Chris Jericho is going to keep up with him, and I think it's going to be probably one of the top three matches of the card.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and again, this is where those faceless bots they really have an opinion, um, and they're welcome to their opinion. You know, everybody's allowed to be wrong, so it's fine. Uh, at the end of the day, Chris Jericho is Chris Jericho. He is legitimately. There is no like tongue in cheek. There is no um, trying to blow smoke. He will go down as one of the greatest of all time. Period. Case closed. No objections. So if somebody thinks that that man can't go out there and have at least a top three match of the night, they'd have no idea what they're talking about. And also, let's not even forget that he's going to have Fozzy playing him down to the ring. He announced that today. that's pretty cool. Like, I mean, you're going to have 80,000 people singing the dude's music. Like, and people were mad about that. They were mad because they said, oh, well, how did you get that hookup? Well, how did Tony Khan get the hookup of having a legitimate rock star on his payroll? Come on, man. Who cares? Why can't we just enjoy wrestling? My God. But no, I agree 100%. I think Will Ospreay is going to be able to work in fast forward like he normally does. Now, I will say, if this was Will Ospreay from like 5-8 years ago, the Will Ospreay that was going up against Ricochet, it would be a completely different topic. This would be a completely different conversation. But we are dealing with I call it the big boy Ospreay, the heavyweight Ospreay. After he came back from his neck injury, he came back a completely different guy. He has a completely different work style. And I think he's going to mash so well with that New Japan Painmaker style Chris Jericho. I think it's going to be a hard-hitting match.
I agree with you. 100%. And my whole thing is, I mean, I might as well just go ahead and, piss everybody off, because I think Will Ospreay is the greatest wrestler in the world at this current point in time. I think that Kenny Omega is a very close second. But to think that Will Ospreay and someone like Chris Jericho, who's been in the business, he's worked some of the fastest guys that go 100 miles per hour and don't know how to slow down. He's worked with some of the bigger powerhouses who, they only have a 3 or 4, move set. I think that this is going to be, and I definitely think that people are going to be surprised. And more importantly, I think people are going to be eating their words. And the thing that I hate the most is I know Dave Meltzer's going to put his 47-star rating on this match. And unfortunately, I think it's going to take a little something away from it on the social media side when a clip gets shared, or when a part of the match gets shared. Everybody's just going to be like, oh, this is what Dave Meltzer said was 4,200 stars. Like, whoa. And so it's just like, it's going to be a great match. I mean, there's just no way to cut it. You have one of the current best and one of the best in the world. So here we are.
Yeah, I think if somebody, let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. This show is going, it should have been put on the moon because of all of the star ratings. We're going to be in the midst of a galaxy, man. It's going to be nothing but star ratings. Like, it just is what it is. But I'm here for it, so let's go.
Absolutely. 100 stars. 100 stars just for making that point. And we'll move on to the 4-way women's, where we have Shida versus Saraya versus Toni Storm versus Britt Baker, DMD.
First off, here's my big gripe about this match. And it's the fans. The match is exciting. The match is awesome. Tony Khan came out of the woodwork and said, because the original All In had a 4-way match for the women, we're going to do a 4-way match. And like, that was the angle he started out with. He didn't let it, he didn't let it wonder what was happening. He wasn't confused by it. He was being very upfront. This is the situation.
I agree.
Like, you would think that the man said it on mute, because people were like freaking out. Like, well, why is there a 4-way? I didn't hear him say that. He never said that. Why was there a 4-way? They should have a singles match. He legitimately said it. He said it. It tied into the original show. Like, it was a good story. Why are you guys not paying attention? Well, he didn't say that. I wasn't listening. Well, you need to stop eating the Doritos so loud. They crunch. And when you crunch, you can't hear. And that comes from somebody that chews gum nonstop. So I think the match is going to be super fun. Let's just get this out of the way. If anybody is coming into All In as far as a fan, and we're coming in from a viewpoint of what WWE or TNA has produced as far as a multi-man match. And let's take Ultimate X out. Ultimate X is a phenomenal match every time it's on TV. I'm not going to talk bad about it. But the programming that WWE has produced for the last, 50 years, it has programmed the fans that multi-man matches just aren't as good. That's what they believe. They just wholeheartedly will live in that bubble of it has to be a singles match for it to matter. And with that women's match is going to be so phenomenal. There are things in that division, and just like every division, just like every match, that you can work around and all sorts of stuff. And a 4-way is a great way to do that. And AEW knows how to do that. That talent that's in the ring knows how to do it. And at the end of the day, I think Saraya's taking that belt. I think she's going to take it in front of 80,000 people freaking out for her. That's what I think. I think if you would deny her that moment, even if it's just for one night, even let the rematch take place at All Out, because that's next week. Like, I think you got to at least switch belts, at least there. Who knows if they're ever going to go back to London? And if you do, who knows if she's going to be healthy? So take advantage of all the cards you have in your hand. Hit that pop button, at least for that one night. Let her go out as the hometown hero.
I think you're dead on the money there. And I think by you saying that you really feel like Saraya gets the W and takes that belt home, I think you just got our 2-week-old podcast here canceled, and they're gonna shut us down, I think, for that one, because I think we've all noticed the trend, whether it has been pointed out or not. I've pointed it out, and of course you can imagine how it's met. But whenever a wrestler is in WWE, they're good, they're the best in the world, they're at the best company, they're at the only company, and then as soon as they leave, and whether they're taking independent bookings or they go to AEW, they were never good. People were just pretending they were good. And Saraya has what I think one of the best comeback stories from such a just routine move, being, just kind of kicked in the back, to it going completely wrong and having her injury, being out for so long, and coming back and not coming back to WWE, where she probably very rightfully could have went back and, been a part of one of their minute-and-a-half women's matches that they have every week. Yeah, we went there. And so now she comes back. She debuts for AEW. We don't know 100% whether she's there in a managerial capacity, if she's just going to come out, kind of cut a promo or two, kind of try to maybe elevate the women's division. And then they announced, in her interview, that she's cleared to wrestle. She's had, I'm not 100% sure, but maybe 4 or 5 matches with them so far. So I think there's this stigma, there's this weird thing where she's been out of the ring for so long, she can't wrestle, she can't go, it's not going to be good. She was injured. No one's ever the same when they come back from injury. Blah blah blah, BS BS BS. I think she's going to hold her own. I think that Britt Baker, Toni Storm, and Sheeta are some of the best women wrestlers in the world. I think the 4-way is going to be great. I think it's going to exceed expectations. And I do see that that pop with Saraya winning as well. And I think there's a lot of different ways you can go with that. Sheeta's held the belt twice now. Toni Storm's held it, I think, 3 times now. So I think that Britt winning, I think, would be the second best option, because I don't think there's really anybody else in the women's division with that kind of build that, could win and make sense. And I think the third option is, Sheeta retains. And I think the only way that kind of works, in my opinion, if there's maybe somewhat of a heel turn there on her end. I don't see that happening, though. But I think Saraya gets the W, and I think Britt Baker's the kind of the second choice. If I was Tony Khan, and I think he's done it before inadvertently a couple of, well, maybe in a silent effort, but kind of like, I know what I'm doing and I know what this is for. I think if he wants to have the trolls melt down and just melt in their seat in their mom's basement, then he'll let Britt win because her last two matches have been criticized so heavily on social media. And I don't get that. I don't.
I had no idea we were supposed to be hating Britt Baker. Nobody sent me the memo. Like, for the last number of years, I've been out riding the streets, hitting it hard. DMD, like driving through the hoods and shit. DMD, they can't handle me. I go past all of the dentist's office, and I'm throwing up the dentist signs. That's what I thought we were supposed to do, represent Britt Baker. I get on Twitter, and they tell me, no, we hate Britt Baker now. I was like, oh, well, damn, that changed so quick. I've been looking like a fool. Y'all have never told me. Telling me.
The internet wrestling community, they're kind of fickle. So by the time you get the email that we no longer ride with Britt Baker, it'll switch 4 more times by the time the email reaches you, because I said it on Twitter. She carried the women's division for quite a bit for All Elite Wrestling, and now all of a sudden, I'm not sure what changed or how it changed, but she's slow. She botches all the time. She's a cancer to the locker room. She has her Brit girls and just pits them against everybody else in the locker room. And so,
I think I want to say one thing, and then I don't care if we never ever address the Brit girls things again. I ain't never seen somebody get so attacked online for having friends. For having friends, like that's what we're attacking her for, right? You got friends. These people were sitting. They were sitting over there talking as friends. Got it.
Yeah, and if you're a professional wrestler and you're in the spotlight and you're not doing indie shows with 40, 50 people, you're not allowed to have friends. You show up, you get a paycheck, you entertain the crowd the exact way they want to be entertained and no differently, and you go home. I think that's the rules for a wrestling fan.
I'm glad you told me the rules. I'm gonna make a note so that way the next time I don't want to step into anything and be friendly. Nope,
yeah,
ain't having that.
Yeah, now we can have that, and I'll try to get you the memos a little more from now on as I pick them up myself. But
I appreciate it. Get them over quick. FedEx next day.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, airdrop it. We got you. And we're gonna move on here to Sting and Darby versus Swerve and AR Fox. I'll let you take the helm on this one.
I am so excited, just beyond excited, for Sting to walk through that curtain. And I just pray to God somebody feeds that line to Excalibur or Tony Khan or Tony Schiavone. Somebody feeds that line to the announce team. This is what 80,000 people. This is what 130,000 people Sting. Like, bro, I love. There's very few things that I enjoy more than comeuppance. And that man has put his body, his mind, his soul into wrestling for the last, 40 years, 45 years. And now, and when that WrestleMania moment was supposed to be the crowning achievement, the crown jewel of his career, and the first thing you do is make him feel this big. I am so here for the Stinger. Like, I'm still a little Stinger. You know what I mean? Like, I grew up with it. I ain't ever getting rid of it. So I am so excited for just that one moment, for him to step out and take that all in. And for everybody else who got fed that line, everybody that heard that line at WWE, I want them all to watch it and go, yeah, that kind of sucks. But Sting has been on the run. I don't know. I saw Tony Khan say it was his best run. I don't know about that. But it ain't my company. If it was my company, every run's the best run. You know what I mean? So I got nothing wrong with them. Yeah, sell it, man. I got nothing wrong with that. But I will say it has been a 100% template for the entire wrestling community as far as promoters, bookers, that kind of thing, on how you build and hold a legend. This is how you use a legend. He has been put into situations where it is elevated him as well as everybody around him, and this match is no different. I am so happy for Sting, but even outside of Sting, I'm all about main event Swerve. Give me big boy Swerve. I think he said he put on 30 pounds. Dude is looking jacked. It's going to be a fun match. I think the coffin match is a very fun stipulation that you don't see very often. I think this will be the second one they've done, if I'm not mistaken. So you don't see it very often. It's not something that's getting overused or overworked, which is a feather in the cap of AEW. They don't do that very often. So I think them doing that, I think overall, is it going to be a technical classic? Probably not. It's probably going to be a little bit of car crash theater, and I'm cool with that. I'm cool. I think the guys in it are going to shine extremely bright. I think they're going to end up letting Sting get the 1, 2, 3 on AR Fox. I really do, just because, again, going back to, we don't know if they're ever going to be back in London or if they're going to draw 80,000 people, or how long Sting's going to be with us. So let's let that man go out as the shining knight that he is. So,
I'm right there with you, and I'm so excited to see AR Fox get this opportunity, because there's so many people that didn't know who he was till he signed with AEW, and he had been on the AEW Dark Elevation a couple of times, and most people don't tune into that, even though it was free on YouTube and it's free wrestling. And I almost got to the point where I watched Dark and Dark Elevation a little bit more than I watched anything else, because even though majority of them were squash matches, I saw so much talent that I didn't see before, and I would follow that person. I'd find them on social media and just find out what they're about. But AR Fox has been in the game for decades. He has trained some of the up and coming wrestlers that we're watching today. There's one individual specifically. His name is Terry Yaki. I had him on my previous show. Absolutely great kid. And I knew him from the Nightmare Factory. He had trained with Cody QT at Nightmare Factory. And I had tweeted about, like, yo, this kid's good. I think he's got it. Just needs to keep his head on right, not, get mixed in with those, independent wrestlers that are very much present, and, kind of keep his head on his shoulders, and he's going to go places. And QT Marshall retweeted it and was like, we can't take all the credit. AR Fox had a hand in training him at WWA4 as well. And I'm so excited for someone like AR Fox, who I think deserves this opportunity. I think he's put in the work for this opportunity, and I think he's earned this opportunity. And you have him, who can very much get technical, and he can also just be that spot monkey, just, one spotter after the other. And I think with Swerve and Darby in the mix, I think that's mostly what we're going to get, kind of like you were touching on. Maybe not an insane spot fest, but I think that's going to be kind of more of where it's at. And I would absolutely love for Sting to get the victory in front of 80,000 people in what could very well be one of the last handful of matches of his career. Like we talked about before, we both grew up during the Monday Night Wars, WWF at the time versus WCW. And what kept me hooked in WCW was Sting. He went 8 or 9 months without ever uttering a word, and the man was just so over. Do you know how much talent it has to take in character development and character presentation to get yourself over with the crowd after going from Surfer Sting to the Crow Sting to not ever utter a word for 8 or 9 months and still have the crowd just be insanely behind you. And I think we have to credit NWO a little bit for that because the world absolutely hated the NWO, Hulk Hogan, and that's all something we could get into in another episode. But I want this moment for AR Fox, and I want this moment for Sting, but then also for Darby because he's been through the independents. That man puts his body on the line every single show, every single match. If it's just doing a run in or he's running around the entire arena, coming through the crowd and then hitting the ring, he's going to hit the ring at 110 miles per hour like a cannonball shot out of a cannon. And he said it in a small little promo once that before he started, before he got signed with AEW, he was sleeping in his car and not really being able to eat. He was sleeping in his car, not being able to afford hotel rooms. So he just wants to give back to wrestling that has given so much back to him. And I think that's a phenomenal way to put it for the story of Darby Allin. And I just really want this moment for all of these guys, including Swerve, who was in WWE, got let go, and then faced all that online backlash of you were never good. Now you're signed with a T-shirt company. You're not going to have any good feuds. You're not going to have a good run. You're not going to have a good build.
T-shirt company is my favorite. I love it. I love the T-shirt. I am so petty. That's my favorite thing in the world. T-shirt. I think I tweeted that the other day. Like doing pretty good for a T-shirt company. Yeah.
Did you see Tony Khan address today? I think it was today or yesterday that he plans on bringing plenty of T-shirts to Wembley to sell.
Which again, things that you just. I didn't know I was supposed to hate this stuff. I had no idea that the merch was supposed to be horrible until we were about to go to Collision. And then everybody's like, oh, the merch is horrible there. Like, what? Y'all are nuts. But yeah, I did. I did see the tweet.
Yeah, no, I don't get it. I don't get it either. And I want this moment for all of these guys. And I think they all deserve it. Trying to do a little trolling here.
T-shirt company. That's awesome.
All right, so let's see what we got next. Blackpool Combat Club with Mystery versus Best Friends, Eddie Kingston, and Lucha Brothers.
Yeah, and that's a real card subject to change. So that just changed. I think that the news just broke that about like an hour or two ago. Maybe 3 hours. Within today, the news just broke about Rey Fenix. Do we know what happened with him yet?
From what I understand is, if I read it correctly, and between getting off work, shoving some food in my mouth, and us hopping live, I may have missed something. I don't want anyone to hold me to it. I'm not Dave Meltzer or Brian Alvarez. I'm not going to claim one thing to be true, but I think it said that he was scheduled to have a match for All Out, which I don't know for sure. But then also it said that it may have been a travel issue or visa issue. So I think somebody may have gotten the pay-per-views mixed up because it is such a, they are so close. You have All In, All Out. Mm-hmm. But what I read said that he was supposed to have a match at All Out, which I don't think that was the case at all. But given that the other part is true, that it didn't say anything about injury, so they're speculating that it's a visa or travel issue.
I heard Blue Cane is he's what happened. I heard Blue Cane put some snow on him, learned it from Glacier, and it's just been nonstop. That's what I heard. My sources are pretty good.
I got you.
My source is also an 18-month-old little boy that likes to talk a lot of junk. So
there we go.
Yeah,
still better than Meltzer or Alvarez.
That's what I heard.
Another story.
Love it.
So yeah. That's going to shake things up a little bit.
Yeah. it's going to be interesting. So now it's not only a question of who does the Blackpool Combat Club bring in, because they have, I think, 3 guys that they can pick.
Yep.
And then we're going to need a replacement for Ray Phoenix. I have been praying to the wrestling gods since Forbidden Door, and I've still been praying, and I'm thinking about making a sacrifice tomorrow to get Chris Hero. So I want Chris Hero to debut with the Blackpool Combat Club. I think he's the knockout artist. If anybody's going to be hard hitting, it's going to be Chris Hero. And plus he already has the history with Claudio from Ring of Honor. So I think that's got to be, I'm really hoping that's one of the mysteries for them, at least, for sure.
Yep.
I saw somebody else put in today, Butcher and Blade, which would be cool. Nothing against it. I want to see Santana and Ortiz, but I don't think that's going to work out just because I think there's some stuff going on there. I'm not part of it, so I'm not speaking to it. But I also think storyline-wise, they're still friends with Eddie Kingston, so that wouldn't make wouldn't make too much sense.
Yep, you're 100% right. Yep, and I think the most I've seen any theory get traction is Chris Hero and Proud and Powerful, Santana and Ortiz. But much like you said, I don't see that being the case at all. I do hope that, like you're saying, Chris Hero is involved. However, I'm actually stumped on this one. I think there are so many people that the Blackpool Combat Club have wronged in the past and that hates them. So I think it might be a surprise, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to be as big of a surprise as some people in the internet wrestling community like to get in their head that like Jesus Christ is going to debut with AEW. Or something like that. But
yeah, people could put out their own theories, and then they're real mad when AEW doesn't follow through with their own theory.
Yeah, like I've seen, I cringe every time I see it, but I've seen people. I'm hoping and praying to God they were just trolling, but maybe Edge and Christian and Chris Hero. From what I understand, is Christian said on their podcast, I think it was the night after SmackDown, that his contract isn't actually up until September, and this was just the last match that he had on that contract. So correct. I don't see Edge showing up. I don't see him ever showing up in AEW. I don't think that that's something that we'll ever see. And again, that's something we can all get into in another episode. Just but for the sake of the pay-per-view, he's not going to show up. That's just all there is to it. And I think Chris Hero with A and B is the most likely scenario.
Yeah, I'd like to see Chris Hero and the rumor mill that I saw was Kip with Butcher and Blade for the 3 for Blackpool Combat Club. And outside, that would be cool, but I really want to see Kip and that does make a little bit of sense because I know Kip and Orange Cassidy have a little bit of heat going on there.
Yep.
Or at least storyline, so that would make sense for best friends. But either way, I do hope, hopefully we'll get there, but I hope Kip Sabian gets to be there in person as well, just for that hometown reaction. You don't get that very often.
I'd be all for that. I'd be down with that. And I've always thought that Kip is one of the ones that could be presented on our TV screens a little more because he's got what it takes and he's a lot better than anyone gives him credit for. So I'd welcome that. I'd be a fan of that. But at the same time, I don't think there's anybody that could be their partner and show up and me be like, oh my God, this is what we get. I'm not watching.
Yeah, you never know. There might be a hurricane, and we'll get Shane Helms. Maybe Shane Helms is the mystery.
Fun fact: he's got me blocked on Twitter. But
that is a fun fact.
Fun fact: him and Pat McAfee have me blocked on Twitter. But those are other stories for other days.
Those are fun facts.
Oh, all right. So now, the trios match of how could you put them in a trios match? The Golden Elite versus what is this? The BCG with Takeshita.
Yeah, you want to start? You can start off on that.
So, like I said, Kenny Omega, the second best wrestler in the world. I think he could be 1A, 1B, very much so. And I think that the Golden Lovers is some of the best wrestling that has ever come out of New Japan Wrestling. And I think that Coda is absolutely freaking phenomenal. So I think it's going to be probably the match of the night, if not second match of the night. I absolutely love everything about Takeshita. Jay White is easily, in my opinion, probably top six, top eight. And I just think that the pairing of Juice, Takeshita, and Jay White, it just makes sense. I love everything about it. And it's so just wild to me that people are so mad that Kenny Omega's in a trios match. I don't get it. Wrestling fans, what are some of the probably the two main things that they bitch about? They want stories, they want continuity. Your very first All In that set up AEW, started AEW, found AEW, Kenny was in a trios match. So why would you want anything differently? Why would you not want to have that continuity, that storyline going?
You mean
And
Coda was in the
yeah, that's what it was. That's
yeah.
what it was. Yeah,
Because
and
Kenny
so
had the match against Penta on
yeah,
the first All In.
yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, and so even along those lines, it just it makes sense. And Coda's not signed to AEW. He doesn't really have any stories going, or he doesn't have any stories going in AEW. I think he will eventually sign with AEW, but this just makes it make sense. This just kind of rounds everything out. And like you touched on earlier, the original All In had the women's four way. I think this is a way to just kind of put the story together, and no one's happy about
Yeah. So yeah, I don't understand. I get it. Like I absolutely get it. My absolute favorite dessert growing up was Dutch apple pie with a scoop of ice cream. That was my favorite dessert. As an adult, it still is in the top. Like that's my favorite. And it used to make me so mad that my mom would make a homemade cake for me for my birthday instead of Dutch apple pie. And I was, I don't know, probably a teenager, a little older than a teenager when I realized, like, you fool, like, she's giving you everything she's got. She's showing you her love in this manner,
it.
and you're just complaining about it. You are a spoiled brat. Like, and it hit me one day, and I was like, man, and my birthday came up, and I told him, I was like, thank you so much for this. And she's like, you're welcome. And I felt better, and I never told her that I had been a little brat to her for all those years. So, not saying that that the internet people are brats, but, like,
Yeah,
first off, it goes back to the whole you've been put in a bubble where you think multi-man matches are bad. So, if you've never watched New Japan, and if you've never watched New Japan for more than just I watched Wrestle Kingdom once. Cool, that's awesome. Congratulations, that's phenomenal.
yep.
But if you watch their system regularly, their guys learn how to maximize their minutes. They learn how to work in that because they have so many people on the roster. So they use that 6-man, 8-man tag so much. I mean, if you're going to watch a New Japan show, half of the matches are going to be 6-man or 8-man matches. You just know that going in, especially if you start on the early stuff, like the pre-shows and all that. It just is what it is. That's where the young lions get their reps in. So for Coda and Kenny to be in that spot is not weird. For Kenny to have that opportunity to be in that match with his best friend isn't weird. You know, in DDT, he wanted to tag with Kota. They wanted to be the Golden Lovers because both of those men understood wrestling, and they understood they had the same goals in wrestling. It wasn't one man versus the other. No, they wanted to be a unit. So you want your story, there's your story. From the very beginning of their career, they were friends who wanted to push forward into wrestling together as a unit, as two people. You can't do that in a singles match. It's kind of hard to have a singles match where you got two people working against one guy. It's called a handicap match. They don't work. So why do people feel the need to complain, man? Like, we're getting legitimately one of the greatest matches, and in my opinion, truly, not just blowing smoke, not just, how great they are, but in all reality, when they're clicking, probably top 5 greatest tag teams of active wrestlers today. I mean, the Golden Lovers are outside of the norm for what they can do. When you add Hangman to that mix, it's going to be explosive. So why are people complaining? Well, I didn't get to see Kenny Omega the way I wanted to see him. Okay, so did you buy a ticket before the matches were announced? Oh, okay. Did you plan on buying the pay-per-view before the matches were announced? Okay. Are you a fan of wrestling? Okay. Why are you so mad? Like, do you got nothing better going on in your life to just be mad? Like, it's the craziest thing. And this is something that's been going since that match was announced. Since the match was announced, people can't let this go. Well, it would have been better if Kenny was in a singles. He's the greatest singles wrestler of all time. Well, that's awesome. And you know what? Why don't we just give Kenny the belt? Take it off MJF, go put it on Kenny. Take the women's off of Hikaru, put it on Kenny. Go grab. We should have, they're mad we're not getting the belt collector, but they don't want to say that. So they want to just, I'm not getting what I want. I want my apple pie. But it's funny because they're still in the back of their mind going, but it's going to be a good match. Well, yeah. Somebody wanted to argue the other day about how, when I was trying to talk about, there's no way, you just aren't programmed to understand multi-man matches can be good. You have to be ready to see them for what they are. You can't just let all your experience with them brainwash you. Actually go in with an open mind. And someone said, well, you just can't do that. I said, yeah, but when the team has chemistry, he's like, what do you mean? Would you rather see Rock and Roll Express versus Midnight Express, or would you rather see Ricky Morton versus Dennis Condrey? You want to see that chemistry, you need both components. And Kenny Omega is absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, the greatest single wrestler in the business today. Period. I don't care who you like. And I like CM Punk. He's better than CM Punk. You like Will Ospreay? He's better than Will Ospreay, in my opinion. The man is untouchable when it comes to singles wrestling. It's a fact.
I think you hit the nail on the head.
It's Golden Lovers are such a treat. Coda's not signed to AEW. He's not a guarantee to be signed to AEW. Fact of the matter is, he may come in, have his match with Kenny for the Golden Lovers, and then say, you know what? I've done what I wanted to do. I did it in front of the biggest crowd that's ever been. I think I'm going to go to WWE now and hang out, get my contract, get my money. He might. And at that moment, if that were to happen, every wrestling fan across the world, as far as Twitter's concerned, would go, oh, I wish I wouldn't have talked so much shit about it for the last, months. I wish I would have been happy with that. It's the most ridiculous. We're getting such a unique card. You got to put it into perspective. This isn't going to come around again. This literally could be the last time. And even if it's not, it may be another 5 years before it happens again. And if it's another 5 years, you telling me you want to wait another 5 years just to see if we can get the Golden Lovers in that spot? No. If Kenny's not going to be in a single spot because there's not enough time in the day to have every single person in the singles match, put him in a match where it's going to be, it may not be apple pie, but my God, is it going to be phenomenal. It's going to be delicious. It'll be the greatest tag team action you've seen. And that's even taking away from the Bucks and FTR, because truly the Golden Lovers are special when they're in the ring. And it just is. There's absolutely no denying it. Do you know what main event they main evented in New Japan? Let's see. It was one of the. It was on night 2 of what? Night 2 of what? I'm pulling it up now. It's the Golden Lovers versus the Young Bucks. And it was Strong Style Evolved.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a phenomenal match. Phenomenal match. And if you haven't seen that match and you are openly and honestly judging the trios match because of what you want, and I get it. I trust me. It's wrestling. We all want something that's not going to happen. But if you're judging it off of just that, go watch that match. It was from, let's see, 2018, Strong Style Evolved. And the main event was Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi versus Young Bucks. Absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Cinema, as the young kids call it nowadays.
Cinema. I hate that.
Yeah.
Oh, swig of light beer for the working man, for Steve Austin.
And to kind of piggyback off of that, what people aren't paying attention to, or they choose not to pay attention to, is who was managing Kenny Omega just a few months ago. I think it was Don Callis. And now, if I'm not mistaken, Takeshita is in the Don Callis family. So there's a little bit of story there.
That sounds like a story. Hold on. That sounds like a story.
And if I'm not mistaken, Kenny and Takeshita are in this trios match. So I would think that if you're feuding with your neighbor to the right, your neighbor to the left takes their sides and starts to have words with you as well, and you can't get to your neighbor on the left, I'm sure you'd probably still want to, get to your neighbor on the right and, maybe take some things out on them. So I think that there's this like willful ignorance. They see it, they just choose to ignore it on stories that happen in an instance, or maybe aren't just in your face. That is a story right there. And so there's that portion of it as well. And the history between Hangman, Kenny Omega, from All In to AEW, to winning the AEW World Championship, to being out of the Elite, to being friends with the Dark Order, to kind of being friends with the Dark Order, to we don't know what Hangman and the Dark Order are, to teaming back up with the Elite. If you want to look at it that way, this has been going on with Kenny and Hangman for over 4 years now. It was 2 years from the start of their tag team run in the Elite to the time that Hangman beat Kenny Omega, or 3 years maybe, I can't remember, till the time Hangman beat Kenny for the World Championship. And when Hangman did, the Young Bucks came to ringside and nodded to Hangman, "This is your moment. Do what you need to do. We're not going to hate you either way." One of the best moments that has happened in All Elite Wrestling when Hangman won the championship belt. So there's all these multifaceted points that go together to build this, and just everybody's just putting their putting their blinders on and putting their eye covers on and just complaining because they want to complain. And then people got, as soon as Tony Khan said we're gonna sell out Wembley Stadium and we're gonna do all in again, everybody's like, oh my gosh, they can't do that without having Will Ospreay. They gotta have Will Ospreay. Oh my god, they gotta have. Well, Kenny and Ospreay had two absolute like once in a lifetime matches twice this year. Obviously, they're going to do Kenny versus Ospreay and All In, and then months, weeks went by, and there was no match announcement. So everybody's like Kenny versus Ospreay 3, and then it didn't happen. And we all know how wrestling fans get some shit in their head, and it doesn't happen. And they start blaming Tony Khan, blaming AEW, blaming Vince, blaming Triple H, blaming WWE because what they wanted to have happen that was never advertised to happen doesn't happen. So you just have miserable, unhappy people all the way around, and they're going to buy the pay-per-view or they bought their tickets. They're going to watch it and they're going to say, Jesus Christ, this is 10 times better than I ever thought it was going to be. So who wins in the end?
As far as the match, I think we're going to see Golden Lovers and Hangman. The Golden Cowboys, the Cowboy Lovers are going to win.
Cowboy Lovers. I can get them on that.
Yeah, they're calling them the Golden Elite, but Golden Elite, nah, that's boring. That's boring. And I am making a decree that the Bang Bang Gang has to bring Cardblade. Got to be there, or I want my money back.
Who's more over right now, Switchblade or Cardboard Switchblade?
Cardblade. Cardblade's on another level. Kid's untouchable. Over like Rover. Strap a rocket to him. Let's go.
Now that makes me wonder how you get that through TSA without having to fold it up and break it down. And
as somebody who traveled quite a bit for quite a long time, a lot of prayer, a lot of duct tape, as the Penguin says, a little patience, a lot of tape. It makes all the difference.
I got it. I'm stepping in what you're pooping out, so we're good there. I'm sure some other fans will be like, oh. But anyway, you touched on it. Young Bucks, FTR, which unfortunately I think there has been a small black cloud that has been cast over this match, which most people are aware. Most people...
No black cloud. Don't know what you're talking about. Ain't no black cloud. I know there's publicity.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. And I'm pretty sure everybody knows that those that don't, Cash Wheeler was arrested / turned himself in. Was it Thursday or Friday morning? I think it was. I don't remember exactly. On charges that he basically presented a gun during a confrontation, which seemed to be from road rage. We can get into this maybe in another episode because I've read the breakdown, and I've got 2 or 3 family members in law enforcement, so it definitely seems a little fishy, a little suspect. But that is the situation as of this morning. As far as I know, Cash, his bond was set at $2,500, which is a drop in the bucket. And that right there kind of tells you that he had no priors. They don't see him as a flight risk with a low bond. And they did not confiscate or have him turn any visa, passports, any type of travel necessities he would need to go out of the country. So as of, I guess, 7:56 on Tuesday, that it seems like everything for that match is a go, and I am absolutely excited for it. I think you muted yourself again.
Sorry. One of the biggest drawbacks, God, I need a fidget spinner, that the pandemic had when Pandemic Wrestling, there were so many big moments that were done to a empty or a limited crowd. FTR and Bucks were one of those moments. So they had the FTR Bucks 2, which was cool, and it was a great match. But the fact that they're making up for it with 80,000 people for part 3, it's pretty stout. I expect a lot of tag team wrestling in this. When done right, when done correctly, tag team wrestling is one of the most beautiful things to watch. It's one of the most entertaining things to watch. And it's always a telltale sign when you talk to people. And I love talking to people. I will never say no to talking about wrestling. But if you ask somebody, what's your favorite tag teams? They're going to tell you they all have basically the same broad answers. 90% of the answers are going to be from early 90s or the late 80s. And it's going to be mostly NWA, Jim Crockett, Georgia, that area, Mid-Atlantic wrestling teams. Every now and then you'll get, if they are younger, you'll get New Day or Usos.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they are in their 30s, 20s to 30s, they're going to say somebody from Ring of Honor or Young Bucks or something like that. But very rarely do you get anything out of those answers because WWE doesn't focus on tag team wrestling. They don't make it a priority. And I don't care who you are. I don't care how good you are as a producer. And I'm going to talk a little out of school here because I've never been a producer. But in my opinion, if you try to manage art too much, it no longer is art. At some point, it is a product. And at that point, the beauty, the draw, if somebody was staring over the shoulder of Van Gogh, explaining to him why he shouldn't make that paint stroke or this paint stroke, we wouldn't have the paintings we have now. And that's what I feel like WWE has done for the last 30 years, 40 years in tag team wrestling. They don't put an emphasis on it. And as much as as much as I regard, their attempts at doing it, and they do it because it's a box on the card that has to be checked. If you're going to have a wrestling card, you need a tag match. It's good for wrestlers. It's good for the crowd. You need that stuff. And I feel like they just do it for checking that box for the longest time. I think they're just now starting to kind of see, we might want to pay attention to this.
Yep.
And that's been within the last 10 years. And it's been within the last 10 years because I think I saw something recently where it was the big anniversary of, at the time, Revival. And it was the Revival and the DIY, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really the turning point for tag team wrestling in WWE, in my opinion. And it's no surprise or shock that the Revival, FTR, had to do with it.
Yep.
They are some North Carolina boys. So if I'm as loyal as an old dog, you ain't going to get rid of me. You just ain't. I can't stop. So at the end of the day, I'm going to go with FTR, and I am beyond excited because if there's nothing else, if you know nothing else about FTR, it's that Dax and Cash love professional wrestling.
Absolutely.
And man, I said it last week and I'll say it again. I got nothing but love and respect for every man, woman, child, because sometimes, Jeff Hardy was like 16 years old when he got, when he worked at WWE for the first time as an extra. So I got nothing but love and respect if you step foot in that ring, man. I love pro wrestling, and those guys love pro wrestling. So nothing but adoration for them, and I hope they defy the odds. I would love to see the Bucks take home the title just because it's a really cool story.
Mhm.
It's a really cool situation. It's a phenomenal way for them to have a lot of adulation, especially for having gone through, put everything on the line. I mean, that's why they called it All In. It was all in because all the chips were in, and they did that, and they should be rewarded for that endlessly. And according to Barry Bloom, they are. I think they're getting rewarded for that every week or however often that check cashes. But I think the surprise would be if FTR wins, especially because there have been some rumblings that they're not having the knockout matches that they were. They're not having, they're not putting up the work history. But again, just like Kenny Omega and the Belt Collector, they were just coming off of working in New Japan, AAA, Ring of Honor,
Yep.
and AEW. They were just coming off of this grand schedule. So why not let them have a little bit of a lighter schedule as a champ? MJF's doing it. Roman Reigns is doing it. Why not? So, but either way, I think that would be the surprise winner if FTR is able to actually walk out of Wembley with the belts.
Yeah, I think that you're spot on there, and I think that the Young Bucks winning would definitely have the social medias talking because you'll get that the EVPs put the belt on themselves, the egotistical Bucks at it again, so they're the Young Bucks and CM Punk are very good at getting people to talk and getting people to talk themselves into circles to where it makes no sense whatsoever. And so I think them winning is good for a few different reasons because, any publicity is good publicity in certain ways. And just about almost after every single AEW pay per view, AEW was trending on Twitter for a day or two after for one reason or another. And I think it'll get people talking, and I think it'll not give the Bucks some direction, but I think it would kind of rejuvenate and revive them, for lack of a better term. And I think FTR has been through a lot, like you were saying. Uh, they were having insane matches with the Briscoes and Ring of Honor, and then they were going to AAA, and they held every like tag team championship basically except for the WWE and AEW championships. And I know that Dax has said, just in passing, nothing to read into it a couple of times, that his body has taken a lot of shit over the last couple of years, and just watch one of their matches with Briscoes, and you'll completely understand why. And me personally though, I'm torn though. I'm fine either way. I slightly want FTR to retain for the simple purposes of they're from Asheville, North Carolina, which is 2 hours away. So much like everyone swears up and down that the Hardys are done, they've been doing it too long, but being from North Carolina, man, I can't like picture them retiring and not being on TV and professional wrestling in some capacity. But I think that either team winning would do a lot for them and kind of get them going in a direction. But at the same time, FTR winning, kind of where do you go from there? I mean, you can't really have the Bucks say, come back with you guys won, but we were better. Let's do it again. And
You could if Brandon Cutler interfered.
oh yeah, you could.
Brandon Cutler interferes, then you book a cage match. And All Out.
You could definitely go that way. And then, we've seen, titles change hands, right after a big event, and it's left people shocked. And we've seen titles not change hands when people thought it would, which was a big shock, Cody versus Roman. But at the same time, I'm just excited for it. I'm excited they're going to get to do it. And I think that the Young Bucks and FTR are top 5 tag teams in the world without a question. and it's just going to be a good match. And FTR can keep up with the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks tend to go at 100 miles an hour, and they tend to just be spot monkeys for the most part. And FTR, they can hit the spots. They seem to be a little more on the technical side, but I don't see them having any problems at all keeping up with the Young Bucks. And it's I hope that one co-mains, and I'll be happy about that with the championships being on the line. So here's to hoping. Here's to hoping it co-mains. And we're gonna skip the main and go to what could potentially have ramifications for the main event, which is Cole MJF versus Aussie Open on free YouTube in 0 hour right before the pay-per-view starts. MJF Adam Cole versus Aussie Open for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship. I don't think that there is a soul on the planet that actually thinks that MJF and Adam Cole are going to win these Ring of Honor World Championships. And I am part of that little bubble that believes that. I very much believe that this is going to lead up to the main event in having either MJF turn on Cole or Cole betray MJF. What I kind of think is going to happen, this is all strictly me playing couch booker / kind of almost what I want to happen. I think that Ring of Honor has been so good to Adam Cole over the years. I think he looks at these titles as something that he needs to complete his career, to kind of, elevate his career a little bit more. MJF's true side, his true self, that scumbag that we all love to hate, is going to come out and cost Adam Cole his one shining moment, winning the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships that he never won before. That in turn is going to lead to Adam Cole just absolutely almost murdering MJF. Again, nothing suggests any of that. This is all my opinion. Couch Booker, kind of / what I want to happen. Simple as that.
Strongest opinions, man. There's nothing wrong with that at all. No, I think you're right on. Whoever takes the pin for that match I think that's going to be your story going into the main. Mm-hmm. Whether it's MJF let down Adam Cole or Adam Cole let down MJF or whatever. I don't think there's much. I think that's the way. I think it's going to be a phenomenal match. Aussie Open doesn't have a bad match. And frankly, when you say you don't think there's anybody that believes it, yeah, if you ask online, it's the greatest. MJF and Adam Cole are the greatest tag team that God's ever blown breath into. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. Oh, this is lightning in a bottle. No, it's not. That ain't lightning in a bottle. You're taking a phenomenal personality, adding another phenomenal personality to it. Surprise! It's phenomenal. You know what happens if you add sugar with more sugar? It's delicious. Yeah, we have a crumble cookie place around us that has the high dollar cookies, man, and they're like, I don't know, $4 or $5 a pop, and you can buy a pack of them. And so Mrs. Fox and I did a whole thing where we were on an extreme calorie deficit for, I don't know, like 2 or 3 months, and we finally were going to break that. And we went, and she was like, "You want to try these crumble?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's try crumble." We tried it. We're like, "This is the most delicious cookie I've ever had in my life. These people know cookies. Oh my God, put them in my veins." All about these cookies. A week later, I realized, because we got them again on track day, that it's just bread, or it's just butter, fat, sugar, flour. It's a cookie.
Yep.
I got sold, and I got sold a $5 cookie, and that's okay. It's a stupid tax. We pay it. When we were in Greensboro, Mrs. Fox was at the merch table. And she goes, "Ooh, I want one of them better than you, Bebe shirts." Absolutely. Get it. Because that's there to sell t-shirts. It's there to make everybody cheer and yay. It's not catching lightning in a bottle. I can't tell you how excited I am for Wembley and All Out just so I can be done with I maybe I'm just a cranky old man. I just want to be done with that tag team. I like Adam Cole and I like MJF. I really do. But to me, if I've got two thoroughbred horses, I don't want to attach them to a single carriage. I want them pulling everybody else up. I think we're going to end up. So are we jumping into what we think is going to happen in the main event, or should I hold on?
Let's go for it. Let's jump right in.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're going to have. I think the Kingdom's going to get involved in the main event, and that's what's going to cost it. Obviously, I think everybody can kind of see that. But I think Adam Cole is going to get the offer to rejoin the Kingdom. He's going to turn them down. But the Kingdom is what's going to stop MJF from turning on Adam Cole. I think MJF is going to do the diamond gimmick, and then Kingdom's going to hit. Maybe Roddy comes out or whatever, and Adam's going to see it. He's going to assume the Kingdom is doing it, and no. But either way, that trust is broken, and I think MJF's going to retain. But I just am so ready for it to be over, just because there's some good takes. There's some good takes, and there's a lot of cool people. I got a lot of cool people on my timeline. But then I got some people that they got to be 12 years old. And that's okay. You can be 12 years old and be a wrestling fan. I was at one point, and I had stupid takes too. Yeah. But dang, man. If you got to get on here and tell me this is the greatest storytelling, Tony Khan's a moron, let me give you a tip. Ain't nobody become a billionaire. I mean, you might accidentally make $1,000. You might accidentally make a couple $100,000. You don't get that B in front of the illionaire being a moron.
No.
It don't happen. You might not make decisions that everybody likes, but you ain't a moron. And you understand product. And the man knows his product. He knows what he's got. The fact that we're sitting here talking about it on a Tuesday night, instead of going, it's over 8 o'clock, which means we're not watching the other program. We're hypothesizing about his program that's playing on Saturday.
Yeah.
Either way, it's not the greatest thing. It ain't lightning in a bottle. It's a phenomenal, fun time, and possibly we'll revisit it later down the road. But they don't need to keep it going.
No, yeah, I'm right there with you on it. It's to me, it's like a really fun roller coaster to where you have this anticipation. You're standing in line. You don't know what to expect. You get on the roller coaster. You're having fun. You're screaming. Your arms are in the hat. Your arms are in the air. The roller coaster stops. You get off, and you're like, Jesus Christ, I feel terrible. That was fun. I don't want to do it again. Me, I'm afraid of heights. I ain't getting on the roller coaster anyway because the guy wanted us to fly around. So I'm not a roller coaster guy. I do think that what they have done with it for what it is has been great. Like you said, it's been a great time. And I do think that it was going to end 2 or 3 dynamites ago when Cole and MJF lost and Cole turned his back and he was like, "Do what you need to do. I understand." I fully believe that night it was going to end, but they saw that everybody on Twitter is loving it. Everybody in the group chat that I run on Twitter, they're loving it, and I've enjoyed a lot of it too. But I do think it has to end this Saturday, one way or the other. And I would like to see the swerve of Cole turning heel and having just in him in some way attacking MJF or maybe how am I trying to say this? Maybe have him lose in disqualification to show that you betraying our friendship or you betraying or however you want to spin it, means more to me than me winning that championship. So I'm gonna clean your clock because of it. I think most people are expecting MJF to turn on Cole. MJF, this little babyface run he's had has been extremely enjoyable. I think people want that to last. However, I don't see that being a long-term option at all. People were buying tickets. I bought tickets to AEW in I think it was December of 21 because I wanted MJF to come out and say North Carolina's full of a bunch of teethless inbred hillbillies, and I was like, hey, that's me. Everybody. That's what I loved MJF for, was that absolutely like raw, unfiltered heel that you're not getting anywhere else. Where he's coming out and he's saying, "Fire me, you fucking mark." You're not getting that anywhere else, and it was really refreshing. And I think that's me reverting back to that attitude era. 10-year-old me with DX and yelling "suck it" and all that, and MJF being somewhat toeing the line and paralleling that. That's what I want to get back to. What has gone on for the last 2 months now has been fun. It's been a fun ride, but it's just time for the ride to end. But I'd like to see the swerve where Adam Cole turns heel on MJF, and they spin it to where uh, MJF costing him the championships, and MJF betraying their friendship meant more to him than winning the title, and that causes him to just be unhinged and lose his shit, basically. That's just what I hope for. I think that time limit draw they had on Dynamite was absolutely such a great, phenomenal match, and I think that's what really opened the eyes to a lot of people of Adam Cole, as far as like what he can do in the ring. And he don't got the body tied to wrestle and be believable. So I think that opened a lot of eyes to Adam Cole, and I think that what they do in Wembley is going to exceed that time limit draw that they had on Dynamite. So
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Yeah, it's time. That's all it is. It's just time.
Yep. And so to end the show, you had sent me the list, and to just kind of round out the show, who is your biggest snub for AEW All In at Wembley? Who do you think should have been, let's just say even 0 hour, who should have been at Wembley, should have been in a match on YouTube or on the main card?
Yeah. Which also, real quick, we forgot about Samoa Joe and Punk.
We did. Yeah. You're right.
Which I know we could probably go for a while. So let's just real quick. How do you think it's going to end up?
I think that it's going to end up with Samoa Joe winning, because he's
Same.
Up until Dynamite a month ago, Punk had never beaten Joe. Punk beat Joe, and Joe's pissed. Joe's not going to let it happen again. Joe's been on a tear recently. We were there in person when he drug CM Punk out of his trios match and choked him out in the crowd. And to me, that says that he's not going to let that happen again. You muted yourself again.
I need a fidget spinner. I'm chewing gum. So like I quit smoking cigarettes a couple years ago, and I haven't had any vape nicotine since January. So I'm chewing gum nonstop.
Yep.
So I'm muting it for the benefit of our listeners and watchers, because I don't want them to think I'm Mr. Ed, just chop 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 chop. Anyway, so I think you're absolutely right. Samoa Joe's going to win it, possibly by interference, maybe Ricky Starks. Don't know. And then that'll set up Punk and Starks at All Out. But I feel like that story's kind of done.
Yeah.
But I feel like whoever it is going to show us who Punk is going to face at All Out, because we are building toward All Out. So Okay, well, so that
Yep.
one's in the books. So the biggest snub, in my opinion, now Tony Khan has said that we are going to get other matches. We are going to have some more stuff added to the card. So that's, we're all going to have to tune into Dynamite and Collision to find out.
Yep.
But I think the biggest snub, purely from a fan aspect, would be Emi Sakura.
Mm-hmm.
She spent, I don't know how long doing this Freddie Mercury gimmick. So I think she deserves to come out to, We Will Rock You. She deserves it. You know what I mean? Like, she's committed. If anybody is committed in their wrestling career, it's Emi Sakura. And by God, she deserves it. Let her have her moment in the sun at Wembley, dressed as Freddie Mercury.
I think most people would be right there beside of you on that one, and I don't think anybody would be mad if that did happen. So for mine, I'm gonna go with the Acclaimed. I think that they've earned that spot, and I think that they have been tag team champions. They got their run. They handled it well. They're insanely over, and I think Max Caster coming out and rapping in front of 81, 82,000 people would just be an experience of a lifetime for the fans and for the Acclaimed themselves. And I'm comparing it to, I don't know for sure because I didn't even watch Raw last night, but I saw a clip where Cody was in the back doing a promo, grabbed the mic, and then just walked out from the back through Gorilla to the walkway basically. And all I kept thinking was, yeah, that's kind of cool. It's a different angle, but everybody goes to Raw because they want to do the Cody's whoa, and they were all robbed of that. And so I think that the Acclaimed being on the card would add a little something to it for the fan experience of people getting to hear a Max Caster rap that a lot of people attended Dynamite and now Collision for, because he always brings up current events, what's hot, what's popular, what's going on with the wrestlers they're facing, makes it really personal. And I just think that would be a really good treat for the fans in attendance paying to see an All Elite Wrestling show.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they're not on All In, then it's going to definitely be the House of Black and the Acclaimed. They're telling a great story right now with Billy Gunn having been retired. So I'm really hoping to get a heel Billy Gunn. Like whatever Julia took, give it to Billy Gunn just to see. Maybe the power of goodness will bring him back around. Who knows? But yeah, I definitely think that they're telling something of that story. So yeah, for sure.
I'm all for it, and that's definitely something we can get into in a future episode, because Billy Gunn has a way of just taking factions from here and just elevating a good faction, and so
just a
that's
little
something
bit.
maybe we can touch on next week's episode next Tuesday, because guess what? Why not?
You blacked out, so I have no idea when you said guess what.
So we're gonna make it 3 weeks in a row. Next week, me and you.
Let's go!
Host, co-host, and we're just gonna ramble about wrestling like we did the last 2 weeks. So
cool.
People can join or they can not join. Who cares either way?
Yeah, man, my favorite thing in the world to do is talk to myself. So, like, at least you're here now. So, if nothing else, you and I can just kind of chit chat.
I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it, man. We're getting up to about an hour and 25 minutes now, so that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you, Mr. SilverFox, for joining me once again as co-host, and tell the peoples where they can find you on the socials.
Absolutely. I am on Twitter at the SilverFox RSJ. It is right there. So come follow me. I talk a lot about wrestling. Don't talk about much else. So yeah.
Don't follow him if you like. Don't follow him if you don't like listening to Logic and you want to talk about ratings. There you
I
go.
ain't trying to hear that mess. I ain't trying to hear it. Unless you work in that industry, please give me all the information you got. Oh, are we gonna do our 2 minutes?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
We can skip it. Last week is still hot.
Yeah,
so we don't have to do it.
Yeah, I think we, especially right there at the end. Woo. But yeah, next week we will return Tuesday, 7 p.m. same time, and we will have our closing marks where we get a 2-minute rant at the end of the episode about a topic we did not cover, so we're not beating a dead horse, which happens all the time in wrestling. So tune in next Tuesday, same time. We're going to have a bunch to cover with the conclusion of All In, and All In being having completed at that time. We're going to have a lot to talk about. So we'll see you all, guys. We'll see you all next Tuesday.
And if you want to be incredibly sexy, head over to Pro Wrestling Tees and buy the Silver Fox shirt.
Holy Jesus, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
It makes you sexy immediately when you put it on there, just like magic.
There we go, man. I'm going to have to get a little magic in my life.